Welcome, everybody. My name is Michael Comeau. This is episode 1 of the T3 Alpha Show. Yes, we are finally starting a podcast. Now, I had a big challenge in asking, who should I get on first? And then this fella in front of you, Sam Rabinowitz, I just happened to run into him on Instagram where he was doing this. So Sam went out with a sign I found pretty remarkable. So Sam, what made you just put yourself out there like that?
I've been applying for a month or two now and getting little to no traction. So, I came up with the idea on a random afternoon laying in bed, and I said, how hard would this be to actually make the sign? So I just went ahead and started doing it. And I was going to leave last Monday, New York. So I was just visiting for a week. My goal of visiting was to go to a wedding, make some connections. And I went to the wedding, but connections weren't working out so well. So kind of getting that anxiety, that fear, and I really wanted to push myself and make a big move, you know what I mean? So in my head I thought about that and I said, okay, that could work. So I went ahead and just did it. I extended my flight for the next day and I went to Wall Street.
Okay, yeah, so we talked a little bit offline before this. Now, if you don't go to Columbia or NYU or Harvard, it can be really tough to break into Wall Street. And so I just want to say I admire you for throwing yourself out there. So what has it led to, aside from this interview, what has it led to so far?
So that very same day, I was actually able to get an interview. The fact that I was leaving that same day was the push. I told him that, and he said, let me see what I can do. So first off, I got an interview. I had 2 goals going into this. Maybe get an interview and maybe get posted, journal, Wall Street Journal, something like that. I was really hoping, shooting for the stars there. So I had 2 goals and I ended up accomplishing both and an extra one. I don't know if you guys know him. He's called the Einstein of Wall Street. But yes, right when I approached the New York Stock Exchange, he's a very nice guy. He stands outside and he talks to everybody. So immediately I show him my sign. I have no idea who the guy is, by the way. I show him my sign and I say, hey, I'll work for free. Let me get an opportunity. He says, how are your typing skills? I say, they're great. He says, oh, well, we have 100 people backed up. I'm sorry, we can't offer you an opportunity. I was like, okay, why'd you ask me that anyways? But whatever. He gave me a free funded account and he just gave me basic advice. Like he told me to go to this website and search up ICE, and like they hire people all the time. So he was a very friendly guy. And that kind of got my spirits going a little bit, because I asked him once somebody else came over and took a picture of him. I said, okay, is this guy famous? So I was like, hey, are you famous? He said, yeah, you didn't know that? I'm like, no. And then I proceeded, I was like, all right, can you connect with me on LinkedIn? Can you follow me on Instagram? And he did. And I thought that was just so cool. So immediately at that moment, I felt accomplished. And then later in the day, even more went on. Basically, a lady came up to me and asked to take a picture of me to post me on her LinkedIn. So already step number 2, I felt accomplished. Shortly after that, a man in a suit walked up to me and gave me a little smirk. From that point on, I kind of yelled at him. I'm like, I'll work for free, because he was walking away. And he kind of shook his head a little bit. And I was like, come on, give a young guy a chance. And then he waved me over. From there, we connected just for a brief moment as he was walking back to his office. And he said, let me get your resume. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I couldn't really find his name. So I'm like, oh, man, just 1 second. And then he proceeded to give me his phone number. And that's where I sent him over my resume. And luckily, this guy is a really nice guy. He told me he wanted to give me an opportunity if he could, because somebody gave him an opportunity. I believe that's where I will get my chance. Somebody who got an opportunity passed down to them will pass it down to me. Regardless of that, he went up to his partner, talked to him, asked him, and then reached back over to me during text and over text. And I couldn't really respond at the moment because I was busy. I didn't even see it. I was still with the sign outside. I had my phone on silent. So thankfully he went to go get his lunch, and he stopped by again and he grabbed me. And then we went together to go get lunch, or his lunch, and then we walked to the office. Now, in part 3, in my recordings, I wanted to be, respectful. I didn't include any of the conversations with the man with the suit. I didn't include walking over to the office with him. Kind of clipped it out of respect to them. I don't want to lose that opportunity as well. Specifically for them, they are a company that sells pre-IPO. So I would call for them and get leads over a course of 6 months. I would just call on the phone all day, cold call to high net worth individuals. I would get leads, and I would also be working on getting licensed. So the SIE, the Series 6, Series 66, Series 7. And I believe those licenses are more valuable to me than anything. You know what I mean? And apologize for my lack of speech. This is the first time I'm doing a podcast. Just a month ago, I am an absolute nobody. Listen, I trade stocks. It's my passion. I've been doing it for 7 years. And that's kind of where I want to go into corporate trading. That's the reason behind it, because I have a lot of knowledge myself. I know a lot of things myself, but I know everything I know is here. And then there's corporate trading and real trading and a real team, and they're there. And I want to get there. I don't want to learn everything from other people. So I explained this vision to them. They liked me. We schmoozed. It was really awesome to get that opportunity, get that interview just from walking with a sign. And I thought at the end of the day, the story would be really awesome to, share with others as well. And that brings me here to this point where I'm doing a podcast, for God's sake. And you know what's the most special thing, Michael, that I didn't get to share with you? The New York Times just reached out to me a half hour ago, and they want to do an article about me. And I think that's so amazing,
Okay, so we are going to have to rush publication so we can beat the New York Times on this.
You got to beat them.
But yeah, well, I do think that there is something to the idea. There was a quote, I cannot remember who said it, but it's of the effect of that if you really put yourself out there and pursue your dreams, allies will appear.
Yeah, the people saw what I was doing and they appreciate my passion. The reality is I know I'm ready for this and I know I'm skilled enough. I was just aiming pretty low at the internship and entry level, but I'm ready. And I want somebody who sees that and who can appreciate somebody who's really determined and passionate.
Okay, so let's wind the clock back. So we know that you are hugely passionate about the markets, and I'm going to guess you are going to stumble on a job you enjoy, I will say, by October 1st. It is September 9th as we are recording this right now.
I hope so.
So let's wind the clock back a little bit. So what got you into the market in the first place?
Well, during college, I was studying finance, and we went over a chapter that discussed interest rates and how they are affected. How interest rates affect the stock market, when they're going up, when they're going down, economic variables that affect the stock market. And during that time, we obviously see COVID fear come in and interest rates be lowered. So with that, 1 + 1 = 2 in my head. You know what I mean? Kind of just rushed in, bought a lot, and felt really good about it. I felt like I was smart. I felt like I was knowledgeable. And from there, it went on to learning about options, where I took my first big losses, futures, where I explored contracts that didn't have theta and cost to own and didn't really expire at a certain time, which was very nice. And risk-free wins about futures. I like that because you could just set your stop above break even and really just play it out and scale out of things. Much easier than options. I used to do high-risk options where my stop loss would get run through in like 5 minutes, and I didn't understand why. So as a trader, I went through everything, over leveraging, revenge trading, all the mistakes you can make. And I feel like that has set me up to a point where right now I feel so successful, regardless of my P&L. I know what I'm doing, and I went through everything, and I feel great about myself. Sorry, Michael, you got muted whenever you get a chance.
Sorry. Okay. All right. So that's interesting you bring that up, because I speak to a lot of veteran traders, and they all say the exact same thing, that you have to learn the hard way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I went through 150,000 in losses my first year after building those losses. By the way, it's not like initial capital. I took 15K during the COVID jump, and I got into options, thought I was doing everything correct. Sometimes that pure innocence, thinking you're the smartest, actually leads to crazy gains. So that's what happened, but it also led to a crazy loss. So around a year and a half ago, I experienced a huge loss. SMCI was caught for doing some bad stuff with their numbers, and NVIDIA in return on a Friday, when my contracts were about to close, dropped $100. I was up $50 per above my entry, and I got in when it was like 70 below. I watched my whole position go to nothing in one day and expire worthless, and that hurt. I'll be real. When you take losses like that, we both know you kind of going forward, things aren't that serious. And right now it's just more of a probability thing for me. I really don't take crazy risks like that anymore. That was a young phase of me and learning, and when you feel so confident. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, it's absolutely good that you managed to come out the other side of it, because a lot of people that get started in easy times when they get knocked out, they're knocked out for good. Because
Yeah, let
even
me just say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. That was the hardest time in my life. The fact that I'm here today with a different outlook is just a surprise to me. I'll be real, full depression, full everything. I went through it all. And you know what brought me out? God. Believing that everything is meant to be and that will be. Believing in myself and understanding that this process has a right moves, which is going ahead and getting a real job doing it, not doing it on my own, and the wrong moves, thinking I could get rich quick. You get what I'm saying? So a big philosophy of mine that I would like to also highlight is when I start thinking that all of my success comes from me and me alone, that's when I will fail. Everything is with God, in my opinion. And that's what carried me to become successful again, to get over my failure and to have a positive mindset. But I believe once I stop thinking God is helping me and I think, oh, I'm so smart, I'm so confident, that's where I take more risks and then be stupid, mess up and fail. Maybe it's not all about believing in God or not. It's just knowing that, you know, there's things behind. You have to do things the right way and you can't be too risky with yourself. For me, it was like, I can't break into the corporate trading. I have to do it myself to prove it to them. It was somewhat of a rush feeling. Also, my mom got fired around 2, 3 years ago, and I felt this immense pressure to make it, for them. And overall, those things did not lead to anything successful. It led to me losing a lot of money, all lessons. And I'm all really thankful for them because it led to me being really smart about my approach now, having a better head on my shoulders, and it made me so much stronger.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
absolutely sorry to hear you went through that. Now they say you're not supposed to talk about, you know, sex and religion on these things, but I say to hell with that.
Yeah.
Let's go right into it because when was the last time anybody talked about faith on CNBC? So where did you get that faith from?
From my parents. I'm a Jewish guy growing up, but my parents are really the ones that embody that. My parents don't care about what anybody thinks. They're very religious people. They only care about what God thinks. And I think just growing up with them, they're my role models. And no matter how hard times get, they never brought it up because they believed things were going to be okay. My mom had breast cancer. I never knew. My mom got sued for over $5 million and won the case at the very end. I never knew. They're the strongest people I know, and they made me. And every success, anything you attribute to me and my success is from them.
Okay, interesting. You brought it specifically that you brought up. They're not worried about what other people think. Now, when you went down to Wall Street with your sign, was there part of you saying that I'm going to look like I'm going to end up as a meme with
Yeah,
everybody laughing at me? Like, were you thinking about
definitely,
that?
definitely. And even in my comments, there was somebody who posted a photo from the recession of a guy holding up a sign asking for a job, and I thought to myself, am I the recession indicator? We as traders, we know what's going on with the jobs and everything. That's my main concern, by the way, for the economy. The economy is made up from young people like me, and if we can't be successful, I don't see the economy being that great. But I do see the stock market being propped up by the Federal Reserve regardless of where our economy goes. But that's just a side point. I think we really need to start focusing on the younger generation and approaching them and helping them out. And you guys, the older generation, really has to do that, because if not, our economy is going to collapse. It's really about the rise, especially with AI coming out, taking a lot of roles away, a lot of these entry level roles that a lot of young grads can do as internships, stuff like that. It's just creating a bad environment. I don't see a good future for that. So maybe if we can implement change now, that would be great. And I would love to speak to everybody a part of T3 and maybe hope I can pass it along to you. Maybe you guys got to give those young guys a shot. We need a good life too,
Yeah, it is interesting because, and yes, and since we're talking about religion, let's go into politics too. It's
Yeah, for sure. Why not?
like here in New York City, Zoran Mamdani, who is allegedly a socialist, communist, whatever,
Crazy, right?
is coming on. But like, if young people don't believe they have an economic future, like,
There's where the motivation falls.
why should they trust in the system at all?
Yeah, we don't, by the way. We do not trust in the system. There's a lot of people left out, and we have no idea what we're doing and what we're going to do. And it's very scary. I didn't want to be a financial analyst. I didn't want to do Excel on a cyclical level for like every month the same thing. I didn't want that. I chose it because I had to, because I have to get out of my parents' house and I have to live on my own. And you know what? It's not leading to anybody having a happy life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, something else we talked about offline before is how, especially on Wall Street, so many people are completely locked out of the corporate recruiting process. So I also went to a non-target school and had no idea how anything worked. Where I would,
Likewise.
yeah. So I went to Brooklyn College. I would meet kids that went to NYU or Columbia that would have 6 or 7 internships like during college at JP Morgan and Merrill Lynch. And I
The
had,
competition is crazy with those guys.
yeah. So I will say, so it is amazing that you just threw yourself out there, and I'm willing to bet that you got more result out of this one stunt rather than sending how many thousands of messages on LinkedIn.
7 years of applying, and this one stunt has got me more recognition, more opportunity than any of that. And it's not even like any of them actually looked at my resume. Let's be real.
No, there is, I will say this from being, and I can't believe, wait, did you really refer to me as the older generation before?
I apologize, but I'm 25. You look over 30, so I just did.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
You
I
look
will.
young, though. You look young.
All right. That was the correct answer. So I will say this is that there is a perception that Gen Z kids have no initiative, don't try hard,
It's true.
Can't communicate. Well, yeah, it's like, it's interesting. I will say this to anybody young that is watching this or listening is that one of the most important things you can learn to do is just get on the phone.
It's very
because
true.
There is something to this idea that really, really rich people don't want to be the type of people that can hire you and give you opportunities. They're not good at texting and emailing. Like a lot of times they want to talk on the phone. So,
yep. And they're busy. They don't have the time to really spare half the time. So you really got to keep at it sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. So there is definitely a huge benefit to, putting yourself out there and, and showing.
For me specifically, it was never hard because I was connecting at my second level. At first I was trying to connect with just people in the industry. I never cared for it, but now I'm connecting with real traders, people who are doing everything I've ever wanted to do. I'm fascinated by talking to them. And for anybody listening to me, my LinkedIn will be somewhere. Please reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation and just learn more about you and your journey. For me, it's like becoming friends with all these people. And that's how the young people have to start looking at it like that. You're just making a new friend. And he's a little bit smarter and he's done what you want to do. So learn from what he did. And you know what? Just having those conversations was a great thing because guess what? A month later, I did the stunt. And now all those people that I had the conversations with previously, they are now reaching out to me. And I sent them the post and they're very proud of me and they want to speak further and maybe even have a different motive. Maybe they'll offer me a job this time. So I would say one last thing to the younger generation, connect, post on LinkedIn your accomplishments, your success, your drive, and how you keep going. And I guarantee you people will see that. And over time, they're going to reflect. They're going to see your accomplishment and reach back out to you and say, hey, are you still looking for a job? And that's what happened with me.
Yeah. And like another thing people out there should be aware of is that even if whoever you talk to can't hire you, odds are they're going to know somebody somewhere that's hiring or, knows somebody that has an internship opening because that's how things really work. Applying for jobs through LinkedIn and company websites is it's really hard to stand out. But, if you're on the radar, let's just say, so Sam, I can see your videos have gotten probably over 200,000 views on this. So odds are that one person somewhere knows a guy. I don't know. Did you watch Breaking Bad by any chance?
Yeah, of course.
So it's like Saul Goodman. I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. So hopefully that's the way it'll work out. And we do have Sam's contact information will be down in the video description.
Thank you,
if you want to get in touch with him. Okay. So let's crank up the crystal ball.
Yeah, for sure.
Like 10 years from now, what would your ideal situation be?
My hope is to start from the very bottom and get to the very top, learn as much as I can along the way, and eventually join up with somebody else and create my own fund. That was always the goal. And the reason I want to get rich is honestly to just give back. At first, being rich in my head was getting status and people to be proud of me. But this stunt itself proved to me that I don't need money to get status. I don't need money for people to be proud of me. And that was just a big reflection moment for me itself. So I guess getting rich would just be to give back at that point. Not to get on the religious side, but a big dream of mine is to create a synagogue and a school like a yeshiva that doesn't charge. Half of the Jewish education things out here, they're all 25K plus. I went to public school personally, never had an opportunity to go to private school because it was too expensive. And I felt outplaced from the community. So you might ask how a Jewish kid right now doesn't have a job. It's because I wasn't in the community. The connections weren't there for me because I wasn't paying that $45,000 a year in tuition. So I would just say that's a dream of mine, to create a shul, a synagogue of people, Jews that have better values than what I see today, and also to create a free institution so like people don't have to feel left out. I know it's not a little bit on topic, but that really truly is my dreams and my goals. And maybe one day I could look back on this video and when it all works out or something. So that's why I have to say it. I'm just being straight up honest with you about that. It has nothing really to do with it though. But yeah, a big part of me wanting to chase for money, me wanting to make it successful was to help my parents, because my parents needed the money at the time. My dad's disabled. He doesn't work. It's another reason why I went to a non-target school, stayed home, worked a job, helped out, because my dad and family was more important to me than my career. And I don't want to be judged or pushed out of the system just because I had values. You know what I mean? I let my sister go ahead and become a doctor and move to New York. I let my brother go ahead and get his PhD at University of Florida while I stayed home and made sure things were okay. I don't want to be locked out forever just because of that. And I'm even at a point with my dad right now where like I understand I love being here in Florida for him, but I need to make it for myself, and it's time. And that's where this push is coming from. For a lot of time, like I never really pushed for it because I had a lot of responsibility at home and a lot of drive to just do it myself. But I really want to approach things the right way this time.
Yeah, and I'm sure your dad also wants you to get out there.
They do. They feel bad
you,
about the situation a little bit, but I don't feel bad. It's been a pleasure being there for them. It's part of the only reason I feel good about myself, especially with all the stuff I had to go through, losses wise, and all that depression. At the end of the day, they were the ones who picked me up. They always told me never to stop believing in myself, and they never looked at me different. Even when I took a small amount of money from them and lost that as well, never made me feel bad about it. And I think part of that was the reason I never felt that guilt, that shame for being a failure, and instead turned it into something positive.
Yeah, well, it's it's only really failure if you learn nothing from it. I mean, hopefully losing, I don't know how much money you lost, whether was it 150,000, whatever it was. Hopefully that stops you from losing $100 million.
It's a long time in the past now, to be honest, but it was a big highlight on my journey, and I see it as a success. I see it as a skill. So I don't want to not share that or anything like that. Because of those failures, now I approach everything much different. It's not a money game for me. It's a system game for me. Exploring new probability setups just to increase, like, less risk is better for me now. And that's why I changed everything. And if I didn't go through those losses, I wouldn't have become as successful as I am today. So if anything, I'm very happy I had them.
Okay, so let's get into your system. So what exactly are you trading now, and how are you trading it?
I only trade high bullish sentiment stocks. I'm not going to mess with anything that has little volume. I need something that flows in like a stock market cycle. For that reason, I use Fibonacci retracement. Basically, I take a low to a high, a trend, and once that trend breaks, you have to tell yourself, okay, where are we going? Where is the level? That was a big question for me as a trader when I first got started, is what levels am I targeting and where do I put my stops? So I use those Fibonacci levels basically to target. So let's say a trend breaks and it's bullish and we're breaking right here. Where are we targeting? If RSI, I use Fibonacci tools in RSI. Sorry I didn't explain. So if RSI is still high on a 4-hour time frame and we just broke the trend and we're obviously bearish, we're aiming down. Where's our target? The 0.5 Fibonacci level. And you could do it like that. You can place a conservative stop and just trail it out. Not every time you hit the 0.5 level, but I've watched this work over and over and over again to a point where I made a case study, and it's a link in my bio. I wanted to teach everybody it. I thought it was the sauce. You know what I mean? I thought it was like get rich, Fibonacci and RSI mix, but I will be real. This is the main entry. When you see on the Fibonacci tool, the 0.5 through 0.6 level get run through due to news, and on the same time you see it on the 4-hour chart, RSI be breaking into oversold or tapping it, and at the same time you see a test of the 0.71 level or in between the 0.71 and the 0.78. So you see a mix of that, break through the 0.5 to the 0.61, and at the same time, 4-hour RSI breaking in or tapping oversold is the highest probability setup I've ever seen in my life. It just takes time to wait it out when it happens. It only happens sometimes because of news. Usually that 0.5 level and that 0.06 level doesn't get run through, only if there's a lot of news behind it. So this is the case study right here. Basically, there's 3 trades in the case study. It could show you how basically to set it up. So yeah, if you stay here, for example, you'll see trade C is all the way to the right. I didn't want to mix it with trade B. Trade B is just when you can tell that the 0.5 level is going to fail. So that gray area right there and that gray and that red area are major buy zones. These are major levels that are very much respected. When you see that very big dip, as you can see in trade B, that runs through the gray zone and runs through the red, runs to the red zone without retesting, because these crucial levels, when the level breaks, you have to retest most of the time. And that's kind of what builds my fundamental analysis. So when we rip through without a test, and at the same time, if you go below, Michael, and if you go to the RSI on that chart, maybe if you just put the mouse over it, the RSI at that time in trade C, right under, is tapping into oversold. So you can see a mix of testing that core level and oversold. So you would enter trade C at that red line, the 0.71 area, and then you would put your stop a little bit below the 0.718 area. And then you just trail as it goes up. So as it breaks up into the 0.618 area, you can trail it to break even. And then once it breaks the 0.618, then and wait for a hold, then you could trail it right below the 0.618. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a cycle with these levels.
Yeah. I don't want to get too lost in the weeds. We will.
That's it. If anybody's a trader, they will understand. I will say no more. Gold has already retraced previous highs. The whole point of that trade C, the main take profit, is all-time previous highs of that Fibonacci retracement. So that's the last thing I want to say. We will go forward from here, but check it out. It's all there in my link. I wanted to put it out for free, but if you do need help, I have a section below that you could reach out to me for some help on this strategy. It's just real support, real live session, and it's a form, so you have to apply. So if I don't think you need it, I'm not going to help you. I need this to actually be very helpful. I might not even charge if you're a guy like this is a passion side thing. I need some.
Let me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt. No, Sam. Sam, you are. You better charge people. Trust me, you want to charge people because
I put it there that I will. But to be honest with you guys, the first 5, the people who see my potential, I really value. I'm happy to help. Yeah. I helped my buddy just previously last month, over the course of this past month, with this same strategy, turn 2.8 into 10.5. Okay, not anything crazy, but I mean that's like 400% here, guys. It was options though. Keep in mind.
Yeah. So, So the issue is if you don't charge for people, they won't appreciate it and they won't use it.
That is true. That's what somebody told me recently. Actually.
But if yeah. So, like a little inside baseball from T3 Live, and also my experience in the education industry. The more people pay for something, the more likely they use it. You know, which makes sense.
Funny you mention it. The person who interviewed me actually mentioned a story about that. They said they had an ice cream shop where they gave something for free, and you could tell people didn't respect it. They threw trash on the ground, but once they charged $1 just to come to the ice cream shop, People start respecting it, appreciating the experience. And I like that you said that, because the guy I was interviewing with, he mentioned that. It's crazy that you said that, because when I said I'll work for free, he gave me that story.
All right. Well, imagine, Sam, do you like steak by any chance?
Of course I like steak.
All
Come
right.
on.
So if you go to the fancy butcher shop and get like an $80 Wagyu ribeye or whatever, you're
Yeah,
going to
you're
cook
gonna,
it.
hmm
It's that ain't going bad. But if you get some $3 piece of whatever from the supermarket, like you might let it go bad. But yeah,
Very good
absolutely.
point. Very good example.
People absolutely
Yeah.
appreciate things that they pay for. Okay, so but just from a broader perspective, so are you purely a technician?
Dude, I wouldn't even consider myself that. I just said dude, by the way. I wouldn't even consider myself that. Guys, I'm a guy with 2 years of financial analyst experience, but 7 years of trading experience. I never really want to even call myself a technician. I love technical analysis. That's pretty much it. RSI and Fibonacci are my main things. I'm adding a little bit in between, but I want to learn from real traders, from real people in corporate trading. And I'd rather take all what I know and throw it to the side and just learn under somebody real.
Okay, so then that is a big thing. Are you willing to throw everything
Yeah, of course.
aside and start? Because that's also a big thing when interviewing. You have to be careful. If you know too much, they will think you can't be molded, which
Yeah,
is
no, I failed though. I know too much and I failed. So there's a reality there. You have to admit to yourself that I asked myself this question. If I'm such a successful trader, why did I fail? It's because I didn't approach it the right way. Everybody's good at trading a little bit. It's not hard to see a low, and it's not hard about that. What's hard is developing a continuous system doing it. And what's hard is approaching it the right way, conservative, and not getting too risky and in your head. I mean, I'm a gambler too. I love Texas Hold'em. I love poker. I liked the casino before I found the stock market. So, there was easily ways for me to play it like a casino, and it wasn't the right move at all. So it's easy for me to throw away everything, because everything I have is great and it's going to be with me for the rest of my life, no matter what. But I also understand there is so much more, and there's so much better ways to approach everything.
okay. So let's talk about poker, because tons of traders
It's true.
love games like poker, chess. I mean, even video games
Probability. That's
teach.
all it is.
Okay, so how did you get into poker?
Poker, I just loved the game from a young child. We played as kids. It wasn't that serious. I got into the casino and wanted to make some extra money, and I liked the game. But then when I started watching it on YouTube, like shout out Hustler Casino Live, they had big cash games and it's very entertaining. I started learning about the probability of everything. So how a flush draw has just as much probability as top pair, top kicker, for example. Things like that I think that's where trading kind of comes in. It's also just a gambling thing. A lot of traders are gamblers, and Texas Hold'em's a great game, but I think probability is the whole idea here. You have a certain probability when you're in a pot and certain ratios. It's all backed by math. Let's take the stock market too. It's all backed by math. There's guys who figured it out, like George Simmons, I'm pretty sure. There's guys who did it all. They figured it out. It's all a math equation. That's where RSI and Fibonacci comes in. That's how it becomes a real strategy, because it's all real. It's probability and it works. So
Yeah, I think you're talking about Jim Simons.
oh yeah, Jim. See,
Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not a big famous guy, by the way. I don't care much for.
Okay, all right. So do you have any trading heroes?
Trading heroes. I mean, not really. From a young age, I never listened to anybody. You know how people take like calls? I never did. There's a couple people, but no one I can really name. There's this one guy who would enter in millions of dollars pre-earnings. I forgot his name though, but he's really cool. There's guys like TJR. There's influencers out there, by the way, influencing the younger generation. I don't really fully agree with everything they're doing as well. It's kind of creating this society of gamblers, and I think more of my story, my mission would be to like teach the opposite, make it more math supported. And so I haven't seen a lot of people I really like look up to. I'm looking for a mentor there. I'm looking for a real mentor, somebody to coach me.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not super familiar with poker. I mean, like I've played a little bit for fun at party stuff like that, but is poker purely a skill game or is it actually like full on gambling?
The skill is knowing your probability. The skill is knowing certain play styles. And the skill is mainly knowing the probability. There's literally a whole chart. If you have this hand versus this hand. So basically a lot of these professional poker players will know the chart by heart and they'll assume what the other player has and then play off that. You could get a lot of information based off what a player does. But there's also people who play against their hand. They don't play it the right way. They're trying to be sneaky. They could either miss out on profit or gain very big from doing that. So I would say it's totally a chance game, to be honest with you. There's small ways to enhance your abilities, but it is a chance game at the end of the day, and numbers is the goal. You want to play more tournaments. You want to play more with the right system and the right probability, and you'll have good runs and bad runs. That's why you see a lot of poker players, they go through a lot of bad runs, a lot of good runs, because it's just chance at the end of the day. Are you going to get the right side of the hands or not? There's ways you can make a little bit more money and there's ways you can make less, but I wouldn't say that's a big skill about it. There's people who don't know anything making a lot of money when they play a game. They don't know anything though, so it's not like that.
Okay, so again, winding the clock back, have you always sort of had like a mathematical, logical mind?
Yeah, ever since high school, I took like a couple of accounting classes. My high school offered as a special thing, and I was the teacher's pet. She loved me. She wanted me to do accounting. When I was going into college, though, I chose other than accounting. Number one reason why, I didn't want to be sitting at a desk all day doing Excel. What did I end up doing after college? Financial analyst. So joke's on me. I should have done accounting because it's just more interesting to me. I like when things balance. So yes, I do have a math and algebra 2, one of my favorite subjects of all time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And I will also say to anybody that even just like accounting 1 is probably the most valuable business class you can take. Like I have a business
flew
degree.
Through it. Yeah, I flew through that too because of high school. Shout out Miss Carter.
Yeah, Miss Carter, this episode is dedicated to you. Okay, all right. So outside of trading, outside of this financial world, what do you like to do?
I hit the gym. I like going to the beach, and family and friends is what's most important to me.
Okay. All
nothing crazy.
Okay. All right. How do you feel about pineapple and pizza?
Not my thing.
Okay.
Me personally, no. How about you?
No, I absolutely love pineapple. I love pizza, but I don't. And I'm normally very open minded, but I don't approve of that. No, it's I'm asking because a lot of these times we have food debates on a lot of our live streams at T3, and
that's so fun.
And the crowd loves to get involved and give their opinions. Okay, so we are going to wrap up, but again, everybody, Sam's contact info is down in the description below. We are also going to link his case study if you want to go through that.
Thank you, guys. So
if you want a young, hungry bull,
I'm ready to work, very determined, and my whole goal is to spend all my money on the closest apartment to your work so I can focus on work and just really invest in myself. The whole goal is not to get a great job, great paying job so I can make money now. It's to invest in myself, learn, and make money later. Thank you, guys.
Okay, and so Sam, I'm going to visit you in 10 years, and you better not have a Lambo.
Oh, man, I might. I'm thinking of Porsche GT3 RS. It's a better car for me.
That's your dream car?
At the moment, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, Sam, thank you very much. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate your time.